A guy walks into a bathroom so that he can put new tile down, and he walks out with 2 violins. Stay tuned. Hey everybody, welcome back to Rattlecan Guitar Restorations. I am James, and the story that you have just heard is pretty much true. Is my collar on right? Being all slobby and stuff. So I've got a buddy, just one, and he says, hey, I came across these 2 violins. If you want them, you can have them. Well, what are you gonna say? No? People don't say stuff like that. So I got 2 violins. I have one that is more than likely something to practice on, and then I have another violin that might be a very interesting project. So we'll look at the one that is probably the plain Jane one first. So we'll open this case up with the apparently the detritus comes free of charge. And what do we tell immediately? Well, immediately it's in 2 pieces. Does that scare us? Oh no, not a bit. And so we have a bow that has, it's actually chipped up here on the end. All of the horsehair is gone. It does have a mother of pearl block inlay, and it also has a mother of pearl dots on either side of it. Bows work kind of like truss rods in that if you turn them, it should do something. Let's go the other way. Might work if it had some horsehair on it, but anyways, at least it turns and it comes out. It's like a truss rod, so that you can put the proper amount of tension on your strings. I remember all of this stuff because I played violin, 4th grade. But we'll look at the violin. I don't know if someone has sanded this or not. So first off, if this is like a real rosewood or a real ebony fingerboard, then it's not going to sand out into that. So it's some sort of wood that has been painted black or dyed black, whatever you want to say. At least it's got all 4 of the pegs on it. Of course, the air handler turns on. The carving on it is, well, it's kind of clunky. I mean, you just kind of look at it and you go, eh. The back of the neck, same thing. It's been sanded, and there's like no figure to it. Just a plain old ordinary looking thing. It's there's just a teeny tiny bit of tear out from where this came off, so it would be relatively easy to glue it back on. If we look at the body of it, we do have a split in the top. You can see the grain in it. It's a pretty straight, fairly tightly grained, we'll call it spruce. We don't know what else. Well, I mean, we didn't have any idea. You can see on the side there's a nice big dig on it there. The back is just you know, there's nothing spectacular about the back. The purfling is painted. It's a painted on purfling instead of actually carving or, you know, making a notch and then inserting a type of wood in there. This is just painted on there. Let's take a look at what we got here. There's nothing terribly remarkable about the wood. I mean, you can see there's just a very, very faint line. You can see right there. This little kind of dig right here is from where the chin rest was. You can see there's another corresponding kind of dig over here on the other side, right there. I have peered inside of this. Is there a spider web on my head? No. Here we go. So I've looked inside of this and I don't see anything that could possibly lead us to, there's no label at all. I can't see anything. I don't see any marks. I do see there's one wooden peg, and that is about right there, holding it up. There's no tailpiece with it. What's it worth? I don't know. Not a whole lot. I get that's probably a fair assessment there. I mean, so it looks like with just a little bit of fitting and a little bit of cleaning, we could reaffix that onto there. We could locate a replacement tailpiece. We don't have a bridge to go along with it. We don't have strings. We don't have anything on our bow. It does come in a lovely vintage case. This might be a great instrument to learn on. If you find something like this at a garage sale or an estate sale or something like that, this might be a great thing to learn on. So let's look at this other one. There we go. Now this other one's a little bit different. Has a little more robust case to it. Now the downside is this case doesn't open all the way flat, so we'll do this part first. I have two bows with it. Each of the bows is very similar. One is a little bit longer. This one's missing the mother of pearl block. They both have, oh sorry, they don't. This one has the dots in the side of it. This one does not. This one has a little bit of horsehair on it, and let's see if we can visualize this. So I loosen that up. Do you see how that just goes flat? So now, as I start to tighten this up, it opens up that gap. That's how a truss wad works. Words are hard. That's how a truss rod works. Imagine this being the nut up in the headstock. These are your guitar strings. This is your guitar neck. And a truss rod works just like that. We're going to lower the action. Notice that the action changes a whole lot here. Not so much here and here, but there'll still be a little bit of a change. So, sorry, it's a little off topic, but so we got two of those. We'll put these back in, and then we'll pull out this. Now I also have, before I get too far, I also have a small container of rosin. Let's see. That sounds like French, which I don't speak. Oh yeah, Leon Bernardel, France. 40 bis, Faube, something I don't know what that means. Poissonnière, Paris. And that's just got a container of some really old chunk of rosin. And here is the label, which probably went on the outside of the container at one point. Telephone number, Gutenberg 4522. That's kind of cool. It's in a little metal canister with an open end. We'll put that back in the case. Should bring that out as well. So now let's look at this. We're a little better. We're much closer to being a complete instrument. Here is the tailpiece, which was missing in the other instrument, which goes down here. There's a piece of elastic, at least that's what I see on them today. It's a piece of elastic that fits down around this this strap button, so that we could conceivably get this playing at some point. Here's the chin rest, and this connects. There's a threaded rod. There's a piece that goes on this end, piece that goes on this end. You'll notice, hopefully, that there's a little hole in there, and you can put a tool in there and you can tighten or you can loosen this up to get at it. So what do we notice that's different about this violin versus the other one? Well, first of all, we got some big digs here on the top, and this is where over the years the bridge has sat. This one says Aubert, A-U-B-E-R-T, and there is a small, I don't know what you would call that, a design. It's just a small design on it. Is there anything on the back? Nope, nothing there on the back. You can see the very fine grain running this direction. You can see it over here as well, and then you can see the figuring of the wood there. This at one point would have sat on here like such. Would it have gone? It's difficult to tell the string notches on this. Looks like this end would be the thinner string, so possibly as such. This wood is darker. It has thankfully not been sanded. You can see there is some figure to that wood, and we're attached, so that's good. The nut's still there intact. There are some little, I hesitate to call that a crack. I mean, it's a crack, but it's an intact crack. Again, the grain of the wood is nice and tight, really tight down there. I might, at a later date, sit down with a ruler and do a lines per inch calculation over there, just for fun. We do notice that the purfling on this is actually inlaid. There is a channel that runs right around the rim of this instrument, and there has been some wood purfling inlaid in there, so that's kind of nice. If we look at the headstock, the headstock looks carved with a little more attention to detail perhaps than the other one. Here's the really nice part. Check that out, kids. That is some really nice flamed maple. It's not a painted on. Let's see. We'll go to the uppy cam, see if I can get a better angle on that. It's tough because it's so curved. It's going to catch the light anywhere you move it. There we go. Right there in the middle, you can see how that kind of shimmies around. So that that's a nice piece of figured maple, or yep, maple. Same thing with the neck, and same thing with the sides. So the quality of the wood on this is more gooder than on the other one. This one's got a bunch of excess glue on the edge, right up around here, and that leads me to think at some point maybe this is, the top has been off of this. There is, the fingerboard is loose. You can see it kind of gappy right there. These are all highly sophisticated technical terms that I'm using. More gooder, gappy, you know, just try to follow. So, you know, what do we make of this? There is a label on the inside of this, and I don't have any idea. I'll try to take a picture of it. It's really difficult to try to get pictures of the insides of violin labels. But anyways, let me get my, I've taken these things on and off a million times. This says Antonius Stradivarius Cremona Faciabat Annos 1715. So that right from the get-go, OMG, we have a Stradivarius. No, we don't have a Stradivarius. We have a Stradivarius copy. Because if we continue reading down on the label, the bottom part of the label says Harmony, Chicago, USA. And it has a number, 6330, written in pencil. So I'm not a violin guy. Hell, I'm barely a guitar guy. So this was made by the Harmony Company up in Chicago, probably in the 1930s or 1940s. And they made a crap ton of stuff. You know, they made 10 million guitars. Literally, they made 10 million guitars. This is a copy. Now it might be again, it might be a very nice, copy of an instrument. I don't know. I know the wood is very nice. I love seeing stuff like this. We all know what a sucker I am for nicely figured maple. So what's the plan? Well, we know that the friend of the channel, Mike Williams, has sent us a crappy Chinese guitar, and so that might be a new crappy guitar or violin. So that might be something that we can learn on a little bit. And then we have this very inexpensive, probably you know, $5 or $10, most likely made in America violin that we could do some further, maybe some restoration practice on, maybe some finishing practice on, to get some knowledge, to kind of climb this part of the learning curve. Because, you know, down here is where you know nothing. This is where you're learning, and this is where you're starting to kind of get it figured out. And then you start coming back down the curve, and this is the part way down over here at the bottom where you start becoming a smart guy. Now we're like way kind of back here when it comes to guitars. We're like right here. If the chart ends here, we're right there when it comes to violins. So maybe between those two, when we come to this one, then, you know, maybe we can make a reasonable stab at it of, you know, turning this into, you know, a nicely playing 1940s reproduction of a 16th century made in Italy violin. So that's the kind of stuff that happens when you tile a bathroom. My thanks to Tony for finding these and passing them along. thanks to Gail for being the pass, the carrier pigeon, to get that from Tony to me, because everybody's schedules are just crazy. What are we going to do with these? Nothing for a long time. We just got the computer back up and running yesterday. It's limping along. I have another order of parts coming in today, and we will have replaced the motherboard, the power supply, the video card. I'm having to add in another card because the motherboard I have doesn't have a USB 3 header, so that I can run stuff. I only have 2 USB 3 ports on the card. I got a lot of drives that need that connection, and a couple of other things. So anyways, so we made this because this just came in two days ago. So it came in, timed in just right. So this will be this Wednesday's offering if I can get this thing rendered in time. I don't know. This is taking forever to render right now. But this is the stuff that kind of walks in, and this is the way you learn how to do stuff. You get a cheap, crappy copy of a violin, and you mess around with that. And if you screw it up, who cares? You've messed up a cheap, crappy Chinese violin. Nobody cares. No harm, no foul. And then you work your way up to an old, no name, probably little value American violin. And you do some more. You take what you learned on the first one and you do some learning on the second one, and then you maybe get a little bit better with this one. That's the way you do it. Nobody came out of the birth canal knowing anything about anything. Remember that the next time somebody gets kind of snobby with you. There was one point where they knew jack nothing, and you might be there right now, but you can learn. Anyways, that's what's going on. If you're a subscriber, thank you very much. If you're a new subscriber, welcome to the train wreck. Be sure to follow us on Facebook. Be sure to check out the Patreon channel to support what we do here, because, well, the computer just wiped out about 4 months worth of budget. Honest to goodness, that's what happened. So now we got to figure out what we're going to do, because we got know the monies. Anyways, I'm James. You guys have a great weekend. Cheers.
Hey, if you like this episode of Rattlecan Guitar Restorations, you might want to check this video out as well. Be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, and if you'd like to help the channel grow, consider stepping over to our Patreon page and giving that a look. Y'all have a good weekend. Cheers.